All right. Welcome, everyone, to what might be another really short version of the How I Met Your Mortgage video cast podcast for those of you that catch us live on YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook. That would certainly be the video cast. And I don't know how many of you are actually watching at the moment. If you are, you're seeing my face that's as red as my shirt. I spent a good chunk of the day out in the sun yesterday, and we're having unseasonably warm weather in Denver, Colorado, but I did get to see the Bronco game in the sun, and that was a twofold win-win for me. Not only did we have a absolutely spectacular fall day in Denver, but the Broncos beat the Raiders for the first time in like 5 years. So certainly a big day, but hence the reason my face is as red as my shirt. I've got a little bit of a sunburn going. Who would have thought we'd need immense amount of sunscreen in October, but here we are. In any case, this is another episode of How I Met Your Mortgage, and we're supposed to have a guest with us today by the name of Tiffany Hyden. And Tiffany has been on the books to be on our show for a long time, and I did ping her a few times this morning, but have not heard back. So hopefully she'll join us here shortly. And if not, I might find something to ramble about for a few minutes. It might be tough Monday morning and all that. Yes, it is morning still here in Denver. We can always do a call-in show or a comment-in show. We've certainly done that over the years. And if there are any of you out there watching live and you want to pose questions about, certainly the mortgage business or your real estate business or your sales business, period. Obviously, we do a lot of work with other direct-to-consumer sales professionals here at Just the Tips, insurance agents and financial planners, car salespeople, even divorce attorneys, those kinds of things. We've got a pretty wide gamut of people that are in our coaching program where they have fairly large ticket items on a direct-to-consumer basis. But with a little bit of luck, we will have a guest here for you guys. And if not, then certainly feel free to ask your questions. We'll try to get them answered. And if not, then I will rack my brain for something good to ramble about. We could talk about all kinds of things, the state of the real estate business subsequent to the NAR settlement. We could talk about what chaos has gone on in the mortgage-backed securities market as of late. There's certainly subjects out there that would be of interesting fodder that I happen to know of, but we do really like having our guests so that we can, certainly get different perspectives and see how different people have built their businesses, those kinds of things. So if we get Tiffany on, then that will be great. I have done a couple of presentations out of late, and if you are in the loan origination space or in the real estate space, then some of that content might be very, very valuable for you guys. And I don't know that I could fill a 30-minute window with that content, although there is some real value to it. But one of the things that we work on pretty heavily at Just the Tips is team structure. The long-term goal being, let's build a business that you can eventually walk away from while it still pays you. That's obviously a very big deal in our workload with our coaching clients. And I've talked about some of that stuff recently. I spoke on the subject at last month's Mile High Mastermind. That's a lead gen conference that we really keep unique to the mortgage and real estate space at the end of September every year here in Denver. And I did speak to a large number of agents for a company called Shawami last week on a number of subjects, but certainly this one as well. And there was another engagement the week before. Mitch Peak, if you're watching or listening, thank you for having me on. I spoke to Mitch's audience, the Build Your Empire audience, on some of this team structure stuff. And I do think that the content is going to be fairly valuable in the immediate future. because mortgage rates keep coming down, and we're going to get through a very unique election cycle. And election cycles usually bring a very holding our breath, wait and see type of mentality when it comes to typical consumerism, and certainly with mortgages and real estate and automobiles and on and on and on, those kinds of things. We want to see what's going to happen. Obviously, there's been quite a bit of activity with the Federal Reserve and what goes on there. But the content that we've been presenting as of late, in light of all of these things, all of these influences that will obviously have an impact on all things in the global economy, but certainly in mortgages and real estate. And for those of you that hover in those windows, then I do think that it's relatively important, because I do think that we're about to see a significant influx of work when it comes to, well, people that had taken out mortgages over the last couple of years refinancing. We've seen a lot of that already. I think we're at a point where the mortgage rates going down and the home inventory going up are going to lend to a really ripe time to purchase residential real estate, probably commercial real estate as well. I shouldn't exclude that, but I do think that that's a big deal, as the majority of our client base is residential real estate agents, residential mortgage loan originators. And the subject that we've really been hyper focusing on as of late is having your processes in place, your structure. And I tend to rival a lot of this content to a Big Mac. And I know that sounds kind of ridiculous, but if you haven't already watched The Founder, the movie is called The Founder. It's the story about Ray Kroc, who was the founder of McDonald's, although it's kind of a strange way that he stepped into that role, and how he really became more of a commercial real estate guru than a burgers and fries guru. It was really a very brilliant path, and all credit where credit's due to Ray Kroc for how McDonald's really came to be. But one of the things that we work on here, and that they talk about early in the process, and I think still goes on behind the counter at McDonald's. I'm not in McDonald's very often, and I don't pay a whole lot of attention to what's going on behind the counter when I am, is the process of a Big Mac, the assembly of a Big Mac, and that we have a very regimented system. A Big Mac is a Big Mac, no matter where you get it, when you get it, which McDonald's restaurant you get it from, it's still a Big Mac. So you put in your order for a Big Mac, somebody puts in an order to buy a home, to sell a home, to refinance a home, to finance a home, and somebody rings that in on the cash register. And once that happens, then it goes into the first step. And in our case, it's getting a credit report and doing some data entry. And in McDonald's case, it's laying out the paper and putting the bun on it. Okay. And then somebody else in our process looks at what mortgage rates are doing and does some pricing and does some loan structuring, so on and so forth. And if we were rivaling that to McDonald's, they, I don't know, slap the patties down or put the lettuce on the bun or put the special sauce on the bun, so on and so forth. And then I do my work with my mortgage clients, and I review all these different options and scenarios and make adjustments and walk through it with them. Is this really the best way to accomplish what's in your immediate financial goals, your long-term financial goals? Is all of that going to jive with what we're assembling here as your Big Mac? But and then obviously somebody puts it in the box and puts it in the window. I guess, do we do boxes for Big Macs anymore? Are they wrapped in paper? All I know is that they don't come in styrofoam containers anymore. So that's really the backbone of how we want to structure our process. We want it to be the same. We want it to be very satisfying. We want our clients to have a good experience. We want our colleagues to have a good experience. If it's a real estate agent that referred us this particular buyer borrower, then obviously they are included in that. And I can't rival where they're involved in the process to the Big Mac process, but you guys certainly understand what I'm getting at here. What we want is a very solid, very synonymous, very consistent and constant process for getting the Big Mac to the customer, for getting the mortgage delivered to the customer, for to the client. So, what I am suggesting at this point with the financial data that we're seeing, what we think we're going to see in the remainder of Q4, that's a weird one. How is it already Q4? And certainly into Q1 and probably through the majority of 2025 and 2026. From what I can tell, my crystal ball is in the shop waiting on parts. So you guys will have to bear with me. My ability to foresee into the future has gotten a little foggy, I guess would be one way to put it. We used to have all this great connection, all of this interaction between different financial markets that would help us understand what was going to occur in the mortgage backed securities market, subsequently with mortgage rates. And that has obviously gone the way of the dodo as of late in recent years. These financial markets are all very disconnected from one another. But I do think that that'll hold true for what's probably a good 18, 24 months. However, if you don't have those systems in place so that your clients, your customers, your people ordering a Big Mac from you are getting a wonderful experience, then the vast majority of the work that we do with our clients in lead generation and contact management, calendar management, social media, video, writing, AI, on and on and on, is all for naught because you can do the best lead gen work in the world. You can do the most wonderful client retention work in the world. But if your clients and your colleagues are not having a great experience, then they're not going to use you again. And they are not going to refer more people to you. So I think that right now, in particular, when we appear to be on the cusp of seeing an enormous influx of business, it's really important to make sure that those systems, those processes are in place so that when that does occur, you are still providing this wonderful experience to all of those people involved in your process so that you can continue to have repeat clients, have client referrals, have referrals from your referral partner relationships, these kinds of things. And without it, it's all for naught. I cannot explain it any better than that. If your systems for your actual product, your mortgage process, your real estate process, how you sell a car, how you write insurance policies, how you structure things for financial planning clients, if you don't have those systems in place, then your lead gen work isn't really applicable. And the influx of business that a lot of you may very well see over the next 18, 24 months, maybe longer, is going to fall flat. It's going to fall short. That's basically all that there is to it. So, if you're in the mortgage space, I think that that's a really important one to consider because, on top of the fact that rates have come down, well, we'll not talk about the last week. And for those of you that missed that window, I do feel for you. And hopefully, you can continue with where you're at in your sixes or sevens or whatever until the rates do correct again. And they will. No question. We still have another Fed meeting coming up where we expected them to lower, I'd bet on a quarter, not a half this time around, but mortgage rates. The mortgage-backed securities market should perform favorably leading up to that. The mortgage-backed securities market is a little more preemptive. Private markets typically are. We don't really care what the Fed does. I guess we care. It obviously has an impact on all things in the global economy. You throw a pebble in a pond, eventually the ripples are going to reach every shore. But I think that those of you that missed a window a week ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, whatever the case may be, will be fine. So just hang in there and sit tight. But that's obviously for our consumer audience. But for those of you that are in our sales coaching audience, in our lead gen audience, in our team structure audience, if you pay attention to what goes on here, just the tips, please do spend some time making sure that your systems are in place, that you are able to provide your clients, customers, colleagues a good experience, so that your lead gen work, your client retention work doesn't go to waste. That's basically the gist. All right. So I have been rambling for about a quarter of an hour. And it does not seem like we're going to get Tiffany to jump on here with us. So I will try to reach out to her and get her rebooked. She does seem like a fascinating guest to have on the show. She's in a relatively similar market to ours. It should be a fun conversation if we do get to have it. Other than that, for the rest of you, thanks for tuning in. I certainly do appreciate each and every one of you that catch this live or in syndication. And you can do that with our video cast on Mondays at 10:30 Mountain Time. That's 9:30 in the Pacific, 12:30 in the East. And that would be on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube Live. And if you are a subscriber to the podcast, then great. You probably already know that 48 hours after we're done here, we have it uploaded to Apple, Spotify, excuse me, and Amazon podcasts on Wednesdays. And this will definitely be a unique episode as far as these things go. And I do apologize to all of you that were hoping to get some insight, hear about some content from Tiffany. I promise we will try to get her back on the show. I can't tell you exactly what transpired because I just don't know. And that is really going to be it for this time around. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching live or in syndication. If you want to find out more about Just the Tips, you can go check out justthetipscoaching.com. And I promise we will try to get Tiffany back on the show. I'm going to call that for this episode. And we will see you guys next time. Everybody be well. And we'll see you then.